All right, we've got two people here that have used AI agents. Who here is interested in AI agents? Can I get some hands up? All right, we got 3 people. Guys, if you're watching this on video, we've got at least 200 people in the room. They've actually closed the doors because we have too many people. I said, guys, don't let any more people in, please. All right, well, real quick, so I don't have to do my stand-up routine, I want to introduce some of the amazing panelists here, and I will just direct it right over to you guys. So real quick, my name is Dwyer. I run Building Web3, an amazing podcast. You guys should all listen to it. But to my right, quickly introduce yourself and give them some background on your company.
So, hey, I'm Nikhil, co-founder and CEO of Predicate. We enable any form of pre-transaction policies for what goes through a smart contract, solver network, sequencer, anything on chain. So what does that mean in the world of AI agents is we actually enable guardrails for what types of transactions your AI agent can actually do on chain and setting basically the limitations of rogue AI agents.
Awesome. And our next panelist.
Hey guys, Yuri, CTO from Treasure. So Treasure is the decentralized gaming console. Firstly, we do not do hardware. We build technology stack that enables game developers to plug into our ecosystem. We build traditional Web 2 style technology from like real-time streaming data. We reach into SDKs, into all the popular gaming engines. We partner with Matter Labs on a ZK Stack rollup. And yeah, we are obviously actively working with AI agents and how it can change gaming.
All right, well, I assume everyone here is relatively bullish on AI agents, but if somebody here is like, AI agents, I got them replying in my Twitter comments all the time, and maybe they find them relatively annoying, give us the bull case for AI agents if we've got any skeptics in the audience today.
All right, so I'll kick this one off then. So bull case for AI agents, right, is you're living in an increasingly complex world in which the way I think about it is that historically we've always assumed that people are rational actors, but I don't think you can actually act rationally because rational actors assumes that you have access to all relevant information to be able to make the best decision. I think that's fundamentally breaking apart now, and we see that more and more. And so in that case, AI agents for things such as like, the most immediate one would be things such as like portfolio management, financial transactions, execution, all of those kinds of things. I think that's where I think the most about from a financial use case of why it becomes really important, especially for normal users, but I think for organizations as well.
Yeah, I think there's a number of things. If I want to like vision sets, and we get a lot of that. Like we being in a partial creative industry, we get a lot of game studios that come to us with visionary wants and needs. So yeah, I think we see it on multiple levels. I think on the entire production life cycle, there's a lot of benefits that AI agents can actually bring to game content. We have some of our game studios relying on AI already to build like narrative content and even like creative art assets and building that into their art pipeline. So that's more like a production side. On the player experience, that's I think where the really interesting area lies because we see a world where there is an immersive player experience that is really unrepeatable. You picture yourself playing a platformer game where every single time you play it, it's going to be different based on what you've done in the past, the memories that you collected, the data, gameplay telemetry that's been collected about your characters, about your bags, about your marketplace activity. Guide you through potential assets that you could purchase for your game to level you up. Yeah, lots of vision items.
Awesome. Well, I actually want to go into gaming because I feel like this is a huge area and this is where we're seeing like virtuals and all these kinds of things. So who in the audience, real quick, show of hands, we've got about 200 to 300 people. We've had to close the doors. Show of hands, who here knows what an NPC is? All right, I see at least 5,000 hands. Okay, so real quick, for people that are unfamiliar with an NPC, what is it and why does it impact gaming?
Yeah, I mean, a non-player character, it's usually, traditionally it's a bot. It's like, people have built it in traditional gaming as a very straightforward, varying complexities. It's just elements or usually characters in a game. It could be enemies, it could be just, actors that you can interact with. Yeah, so that's kind of the premise of an NPC. Up until date, they've been very, very static. They have some smarts, but really with the dawn of AI, or with agents specifically, you have the ability to attach some real intelligence and kind of like relevance to the interactions with them.
Yeah, so we see that NPCs and these AI agents in gaming are kind of really taking over. I mean, I swear I see them on Twitter all the time, my replies. Honestly, I'd like some more because I'm trying to boost my engagement numbers. So talk to us a little bit about like why this is impactful for gaming. Like, why does it matter that we have like smarter agents, or why does it matter that we have like smarter NPCs in this game?
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's enriching the experience. You know, we you know, it's one of the challenges of gaming is to keep players engaged. Like studios go to great lengths to do that, and you know, this is just really you know, a way to kind of like fast forward all this. You know, I think the traditional like celebrity style agents that we see with Twitter, I think we're only starting to see what that really means. I think that's going to proliferate way more and kind of like just add to the experience.
Okay, so we've gone over gaming, and I feel like there are probably a few interesting use cases for AI agents. I'm sure I'd love to have you guys jump in on a few. So we've got gaming, we've got finance. I'm curious to the crowd, is there anyone here that would trust their crypto portfolio to an agent? I've got 0 hands. Guys, what's going on? I thought we were all about the agentic future. So tell us a little bit about the use cases that you specifically think are exciting about AI agents. Is it like eventually we give them our DeFi portfolio?
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, I think people not raising their hands on that question is actually the entire point, right? So we actually still, at the end of the day, actually want control over our assets. We want control over our lives. And that fundamentally influences like how we think about our portfolio. And as much as we think about like how like financial transactions are executed by like financial institutions as well, really at the end of the day, that's not like something that they're like, oh cool, there's just gonna be some agent that's gonna go and do my portfolio for me. Not at all, because if something goes wrong, it's the head of that person who's the portfolio manager. It's their head on the line. And so in this case of now we're saying, okay, great, you're going to create an agentic economy, maybe, right, at some point. And I think that's what we're really building towards. I will say at ETH Denver, it's probably been hyped way too much. So I will caveat all of this with that. But there is kind of this, it really comes down to like, it's actually a principle and an agent question, right? It's actually this fact of like, who are your brokers within a system? So far in crypto, we've built this kind of permissionless infrastructure in which you have smart contract execution. And a lot of those things really kind of facilitate and function as the brokers of a transaction. Best example of this is something like Uniswap, right? So you want to interact on a DEX or you want to swap your asset. You don't go to a broker, you interact with a smart contract in this case. That's where we're at right now, and you give a ton of control over that system. Now, for anything when you start going into agents, it's now the question of like, are you comfortable giving up that control? And is our system sophisticated enough to be able to do all of those things? And so far, I would say it's not, right? And there's a number of reasons for that. Now, it's things such as like hallucinations on an LLM, right? Like this has nothing to do with portfolio management. It's simply you type in something on ChatGPT and you're like, give me some topic on like a response on this. And it could hallucinate and you're gonna have no information of whether it's true or not. Other ones are, for example, like the appropriateness itself. Is it giving you the actual like outcome that you want, or is it giving you something different which it thinks that it's supposed to get to? And a lot of this is because AI agents reason, right? Like it's not just that they're bots and they're not workflows. They are meant to reason based off of past information and subsequent new information. And so the system is not quite there yet. And I think that's where you end up having a blocker of, can I have an AI agent manage my portfolio? It's not going to happen yet. I think a better thing is, it's able to give you responses of saying like, I want to invest. Where should I invest? And then of course you can go and do your own research.
Yeah, I got to say, when I was a kid, hallucinations used to be fun, and now they're devastating to all the economy. Now, one term we used, and I'm quite curious, how many people in the audience know what the agentic economy means, or is this like a buzzword we just throw out? Definitely a buzzword. Can I have somebody explain what does it mean to have an agentic economy?
Yeah, I can do this. Alton's laughing because we literally had a panel on this on Monday on a similar topic. And I think Alton pushed that question on me then as well. So an agentic economy really is that, at least the way I think of it, is you have agents who are executing transactions, but you also have agents who are interacting with brokers or solvers. It actually starts going heavily, in my view, to the world of intents as well, where you have solvers that are executing transactions based off of capital and capital allocation, and then you have determination of best flow of capital, the direction of capital, and determining what is the best outcome. So you express the outcome that you want, and you have all these different groups that are executing it. And they're not all AI agents. I think an agentic economy does not assume, in my mind, that everything is an AI agent. It's simply that you have a system of different nodes, different pieces that are all executing a transaction on behalf of a user or a person.
Now, I was interviewing David from the Lit Protocol, and he was saying that in the future, we may not go to the App Store. We might just go to the agent store, and that the app paradigm as it exists may die in favor of the agent paradigm. So I'd just love to get an understanding from you guys. Do you feel like we might see the death of apps in like 2-3 years, or we think like, hey, we'll always go to apps? Like, where do you think agents really slot in here? Like, are we going to be picking our favorite gaming agent?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going that way. I mean, I just look at myself and how I do less and less Google searches now. I just use, some AI tool for it. And I think that's going to be across the board as well. Like, interactions with app stores, with gaming stores. We have a marketplace as well. I think it's definitely become a global like interface for a lot of people. And it's just a start. I think, yeah, it goes together with the actual, the hallucination and the actual reliability of it as well. I think we are, that's obviously improving a lot, getting a lot more reliable. So, and with that, we're going to see like aggregators and app stores adopt it.
Do you think we're going to see that death of apps, or it's kind of just going to be a mix of both?
I kind of see a mix of both, to be honest. I think it's, like, you might be that you interact with the platform and have that kind of route you to where you need to go. Like, the simplest example of this is like a very, like, archaic example is you're, like, calling, I don't know, like your insurance company, and you're getting routed from one place to another. Ideally, at a certain point, like, they've started sorting out their system where you just get routed to where you need to go. Still doesn't really work, but depending on what your use case is or your platform, you might have those things route you, but I don't know if it just replaces the whole thing. At least not yet. Maybe, like, long tail, but in my mind, that's highly speculative still.
Now, I was interviewing Karan from Mira, and they're essentially an anti-hallucination software. And the idea, one of the things that he said that really stuck with me is that AI is literally the worst it will ever be. And it's only going to be getting better. So what are some of the things that we need to do in order to like kind of realize these really good AI agents that can actually materially improve people's lives?
Yeah, I think it's going to be different for every vertical industry that adopts it. For us, it's definitely there are a few challenges that we face right now, and is to really get like full adoption of it is to make it affordable and accessible to everybody and to different applications. And I think with that, we're at a point now where inference is become a lot cheaper, but it's still we, especially in the gaming context, we have like very sizable like inference templates that we enrich with RAG and additional like external data. And I think we are constantly finding new ways to do that as well. So there's this like balancing act between leveraging new like learning or training model or methodologies perhaps, as well as like real-time inference or context injection strategies. So I think that'll be my
Absolutely.
take.
And what do you think we need to do in order to really improve either the adoption of agents or the agents themselves to make them actually useful?
Yeah, so two things. One is like have more like clear product use cases, right? So actually building towards that. And there's plenty of companies doing that, but actually having the purpose of using one. The other one is, you touched on a lot of it, but the other part is actually being able to set those constraints and guardrails. That's actually matters a lot, and there is a lot of investment on that. Not actually as much from crypto companies, but more from traditional AI companies, right? So like NVIDIA, OpenAI, Sentient, all these guys are actually spending a lot of time thinking about how do you incorporate guardrails, because that is crucial if we're saying we want something to be done, but you have to be able to define the parameters of what you want done. If there's no parameters, then it can go off into infinity. And so that starts getting more and more sophisticated as well. So until you have that, it's very difficult to say, oh, we're going to use it for X, Y, Z.
Yeah, and I feel like we'd be, I saw you were about to say something, so hop in here real quick.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I think in the gaming use case, we definitely see that, and similar to how gaming has always been, you need to focus very much on user onboarding and education, and actually providing, like Nikhil mentioned, like the product has to be right as well. I think I have a friend of mine that's at HP Enterprise, building like enterprise level AI, and half of their cases are failing because the big banking systems they just want another like fancy paperclip. And what ends up happening is people just dismiss it, and the project failed. So I think it's just really understanding your audience, the problem you're trying to solve, and really just bringing your users along for the ride, especially in gaming, like, really smooth, onboarding experience to educate them, get them familiar with your agents and what it can do for you.
Absolutely. So I know we have a few people that just filed in here. So real quick show of hands, who here is excited about agents? All right, who's here is a little bit scared about agents? They're like, I think they're going to take my job. All right, so talk to us a little bit about how we make sure that these agents are actually aligned with us. And then we'll go, I know we're at a ZK conference, I got to talk about privacy eventually. But talk to us about how we actually ensure that these agents have our best interests in mind.
Yeah, there's different ways of thinking about it, but I mean, from a Web3 standpoint, which is where I'll probably be most comfortable on it, one, and I think Sriram is talking later, and you should probably ask him on it too, is like the verifiability, right? Verifiability of what an agent is going to do. Are they pulling the right information? How are they sourcing it? All those kinds of things. That verifiability matters a lot. And so that's crucial if we're like, how do you actually make this whole thing work? And then the verifiability as well is like that source of information that they're using. So is that actually verifiable, or are they pulling it from something that also could be wrong? And so the decision making there is crucial. And then, yeah, I think the last part, as we were talking about, is the actual policies and constraints. So again, being able to set those specific parameters around like appropriateness, hallucination, regulatory compliance, validation, like all these are like key aspects of like the types of guardrails, and they're basically a set of different categories. And being able to have all those different things, that becomes really important for this to work.
Yeah, and do you find that there's any difference in there in the gaming environment where people are like, I want to make sure my agent just doesn't sell all of my loot. I'm not a gamer, guys. I'm not a gamer, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I think definitely, and we're, along with the progression of the technology that we leverage, to also, and it kind of ties in with the user onboarding and familiarity to educate them. Like, we're actually doing a lot of work on scoping access. Like, we have like transient wallets we spin up, that is probably aggregated into the 6551 or something similar, that you give it like a session-based access, because you want this agent to go and act in your best interest, but you want to have it like minimized in scope, and the hard stop for it is to have a wallet that is restricted. So mixture of like smart contract accounts that we're doing there. I think I was chatting with Nikhil earlier that I think definitely what they're tackling is a structured way to really like formalize and build that like rule set and evaluation engine, which is like I think next steps that we'll be looking at as well.
Yeah, and making this like tangible as well, a lot of it actually starts not too different from smart contract wallet policies, right? Or normal wallet policies. And so for that, it's how do you enable like things of like, so normal wallet policies, if you guys have ever used a Fireblocks, it actually allows you to set policies for who can send out a transaction, what are the transaction requirements, all of those things. So it's very similar to when we think of a smart contract wallet. And that's where an AI agent like makes the most sense if it's going to be utilizing any of your financial assets, is it's making recommendations or making determinations of how your transaction should get executed. But you actually want that tied, ideally, in my mind, to some type of smart contract wallet or multi-sig, so you have signing control as well. That's where like there's cool stuff that like Lit Protocol are working on, Turnkey, Privy, Para, formerly Capsule. All of those guys are thinking about a lot of those things, but then it's just adding those additional sophistications of, wait, how do I want to make sure my transaction doesn't get executed in a way that I don't want it to?
Yeah, absolutely. And now that we're at a ZK conference, I know I have to mention privacy. Who here, I just want a quick show of hands, who here has seen that meme where it's like me uploading like my company's most deepest secrets into an open chat GPT window? I know I've done it myself too in all my financial stuff. So let's talk a little bit about privacy, and as we start to use these agents, like how do we entrust that, one, when we're giving them like our financial data and all of this important stuff, that they are not just gonna like leak it or not act on behest of somebody else?
So I'm actually going to punt that question because I actually don't know if I can answer that as well. But from a privacy standpoint, I think of like the other part I think about is actually the privacy settlement. So I think like Alio and I think maybe Aztec, some of the other privacy folks spoke earlier today. And we work with a bunch of them. And in our case, it's actually what transactions end up going through and settling on a privacy system, and how do the transactions actually enter into that. There's different ways of thinking about private compute, and maybe you're starting the transaction on an Ethereum side, or you're actually starting the transaction on a privacy system. So there's another privacy project we've been working with where they're actually building an AI agent system that lets you enable to essentially do private transactions. And so the part there is how do you ensure that your AI agent is not about to, in a privacy world, about to do something that is illegal, or the assets are coming in from Bybit exploit North Korea Lazarus. and so, or interacting with those kinds of things. So I'm not going to answer on like the actual
Fair enough.
privacy part, but I think when we think of the world of privacy itself, that's where like, and if an AI agent is executing things on a privacy system and settling, that's where you have to think about that as well.
Yeah, I can add some perspective on the gaming side, and it's an age-old problem for mobile free-to-play games. Like you're opening up Candy Crush, you get a certain bundle, pushed to you for a special a special like some incentive that they want to sell to you. That is the results of like data analytics that happens behind the scene, segmentations of users, etc. So. There's a lot of similarities to it as well when it comes to AI agents. It's data driven. We need your agents are going to be as informed as the quality of data that you provided. So yeah, I think a few different approaches there. We're taking a tagging and classification approach there, where we have basically call it like scales of like privacy and sensitivity of data. And yeah, so basically, we're able to take some anonymized data and use that as aggregates to actually inform like, more like metrics-based stuff that can be added to the agent. But then also, we're looking at ways how we can actually tokenize and privatize on-chain like memory states or states of agents to actually similar in like kind of a self-custodial data sense, where you have the keys to the data that's encrypted.
Amazing, amazing. Oh, I know we have another panel coming up here. So real quick, both of you tell people where they can find you online, where they can connect with you.
Treasure.lol.
I like it. Cool. So Predicate.io, and then my Twitter handle is Pumper Nikhil, PUMPER NIKHIL.
I gotta say, that's one of my favorite names. And you can find me at JAXXDWYER. Look at my name and just add an extra X to it. Guys, I hope you learned something about AI agents today, and I'll see you around the conference.